Lately, the internet has been flooded with tradwives, the flaws, the hypocrisy of traditional wives. I don't know about your feed, but mine is flooded with traditional wives. Traditional wives again and again. Nara Smith is making Coca-Cola from scratch on TikTok, and on X, everyone is discussing the scandalous interview of a blogger, Ballerina Farm, for The Times. Tradwives have millions of followers on social media, millions of views, tens of millions, I would even say. And overall, it is like a perfect life, a perfect dream of every woman. And today, I want to talk about who these tradwives actually are. Why are they praised and on contrary criticized, and whether such a lifestyle can be feminist or a personal choice for a woman. This is what I want to discuss. There's so many videos about it, but now I just want to discuss if it actually benefits us or not. This video is going to be very fun. There will be so many Mormons, capitalism, neo-patriarchy, influencer deception, everything we love to react to. So why don't we get started, you guys? But before we get to that, if you want to keep up with my updates, I want to ask you to subscribe to my channel. To begin with, who even tradwives are? Tradwives literally translates to traditional wives, but it's not just housewives. These are the women who find inspiration in 1950s America. In those gender roles, ultra-conservative ones, within which a woman must obey her husband who provides for the family. Besides gender roles within which traditional wife meets her beloved from work, cooks luxurious dinners, and generally cares for her husband and children. These women also adopt the aesthetic of those earlier days, when everything was better. So you often see traditional wives on TikTok either in fitted dresses with fluffy skirts or pearls, or in calico dresses, or in jeans with cowboy boots, like the settled style in Central America in 1800s. But traditional wives, they are not just housewives, they're influencers with tens of millions of followers who broadcast their ideal life as a wife. They cook an incredible amount of the most complicated dishes, and the rest assured, if they're making pasta, they're making the dough from scratch too. They perfectly care for their perfect husband and their perfect children and their perfect homes, and they always look perfect. Naturally, they always have a perfect hairstyle and a perfect makeup. Nara Smith, for example, is one of the reps of this lifestyle who always cooks in couture in super expensive outfits. And even if the traditional wife is, I don't know, cleaning out a barn like a Ballerina Farm's Hannah Neilman, rest assured she's doing it in perfectly clean blue jeans and cowboy boots with the perfect flowing hair and the same perfect smile on her face. As I already mentioned, tradwives are primarily influencers. They're especially popular on TikTok. For example, the tradwife Estee Williams has 200,000 followers on TikTok. And she has an incredibly concise video on what this lifestyle is about. However, in another video, Estee clarifies that traditional wives don't impose their lifestyle to anyone, and that submission to the husband doesn't mean submission to the husband. Well, of course, it does mean submission to the husband, but not because the husband needs to be obeyed, and not because the woman is one step below. It's just that the woman has a kind serving role.
The misconception about the tradwife movement, it's not really a movement. Nobody's pushing it. People are typically just living it and maybe showcasing their lifestyle like me. And we believe our place, specifically us as individuals, believe our purpose is to be homemakers. It doesn't mean that we are trying to take away what women fought for. There are a lot of people trying to make this a sinister thing or put some other darker meaning behind the term tradwife. Nobody is doing that. No tradwife TikTokers are saying every woman's place is in their home. We as individuals are just choosing to be homemakers. That's all.
What? See, that sounds pretty well fine, and that's absolutely valid choice, and it's great that she's making it. What you can even say to that except like, go sister. But I suggest remember this, because at the end we'll discuss whether there's a difference between a housewife and a tradwife. Before we talk about why Tradwives get praised and criticized, I want to sketch a quick portrait of the most famous of the Tradwives. Let's start with Hannah Neilman, better known online as a ballerina farm. She is the mother of 8 who lives on a farm in Utah. She runs an Instagram and TikTok accounts, each with 10 millions of followers. In her videos, she cleans pens, gathers eggs, and then bakes artisanal bread, all surrounded by a swarm of toddlers. Before having kids, she was a professional ballerina. She studied in Juilliard, one of the top art schools in the United States, and she paid her tuition by winning beauty pageants. The Juilliard program she attended only accepts 12 women and 12 men each year, and the overall acceptance rate is 7%. How crazy does that sound? So Hannah wasn't just a ballerina, she's one of the best. However, she didn't graduate because she married her husband Daniel, and she was pregnant within months. According to a Royal Times article, she's the only Juilliard student in modern history to drop out for this reason. Daniel is the son of a billionaire, David Neilman, founder of 5 commercial airlines. Daniel insisted they marry quickly and barely dated before marriage because he's a Mormon. Hannah wanted to wait a year and finish school, but Daniel said no, and within a month they were engaged, 2 months later married, and 3 months after that she was already pregnant. This article made waves online because it wasn't exactly unbiased journalism. It leaned into author's opinion. It almost reads like a call to save poor Hannah, held hostage in Utah. But the same picture can be seen differently, so I encourage you to critically think about everything you see, including these clips I'll be sharing now. Hannah says the first year of our marriage was pretty tough. We had to sacrifice a lot, but we had a dream. Daniel cuts in and says, and we still do. Hannah continues, I gave up dance, that was hard, you give up a part of yourself. And Daniel gave up his career and ambitions. He wanted to live in the Wild West, and now we do. He wanted a farm, and now we have one. He likes going on weekly date nights, and now we do. He doesn't want nannies in the house, so we don't have any. The only place Hannah wanted for herself was a little barn she hoped to turn into a ballet studio. Eventually, it became the homeschooling room for the kids. She does grocery shopping with kids trailing behind. They make everything from scratch. There's no convenience food. Daniel helps with the kids and does laundry, and the kids look after each other. But Daniel does admit that sometimes Hannah is so exhausted she doesn't get out of bed for a week. A week. So yeah, draw your own conclusions, but for now, let's leave Hannah alone and move on to the short biography of the second most popular traditional wife. Honestly, Nara Smith is getting pretty popular right now, so I think she's a little bit ahead of time at this moment in 2025 for sure. And I'm pretty sure you all seen all of the parody videos online about her on TikTok especially. Everybody's making fun of her. But listen, it's a choice for a lot of people, but just stay tuned to what I have to say. A former model and now a 22-year-old mother of 3 little angels and a stepmother to another. In one go, Nara cooks 8 dishes in 4 hours and does this with an insanely expensive evening dresses. Nara Smith is a trad wife. She's a 22-year-old wife of a model, Lucky Blue Smith. Yeah, I was stunned just like you might be when I found out that the couple got married in 2020, and in the following 4 years, they had 3 kids. By the way, they have another one on the way, and Lucky Blue Smith also has a child from a previous girlfriend, so it turns Nara is also a stepmother to another child. Well, in general, this couple has something in common with the ballerina farm. They actually meet a lot too, and namely that Lucky is also from the state of Utah and also a Mormon. What a coincidence. Before marriage, Nara was a professional model. She started modeling at age 14. Now, Nara is an influencer and is obvious and very, very popular. I must say she has at least 4 million followers on Instagram and now 11 million on TikTok, which is a lot more than ballerina farm right now. Nara posts videos of herself with perfect hair, makeup, and in stunning evening gowns, cooking the most complex dishes, often catering to the wishes of her husband and children. Well, anyway, you get the idea of what traditional wives are. Now, let's talk about why these influencers and the ones like them get praised and criticized. Let's start with the first point. Traditional wives get praised for being ideal wives and mothers. They care about their homes, they adore their families, they know how to press pleats into trousers. You know everything about it. And as I already said, they are the perfect housewives. They are the standard of a woman, like a real woman. The kind of woman we all are supposed to be. Like a Barbie without the nuance. Obviously, it is a very patriarchal compliment. And today we could say, no, this is a real woman. A perfect wife, not like all these dumb career women of yours. But at the same time, tradwives also get praised for this. In a world where feminism has the rotten people's brains, where people say women can lead engineers and fly into space, tradwives defend their right to be housewives. Not just housewives, but the housewives like, this is my choice and this is a valuable job. I choose to live my life this way. And that is important thought. In our society, there's a certain paradox. On one hand, a housewife is an ideal woman. A woman who's from the patriarchal point should be like this. She should stay home, serve her husband well, take care of her house well, the home, and then the kids. She should be immersed in family life to be the keeper of her in every way. But on the other hand, no one respects this labor. Everyone would say, oh, you're just a housewife, and okay, and what are you tired from exactly? That's not a real job. No one considers housework work. You press the button on the dishwasher, a button on the dishwashing machine. What else did you even do? You started the robot vacuum. What are you tired from? Okay, you took the kids to school. What do you even do for the other 23 hours of your day? Should we give your little finger a sick note because it's probably been overworked from pressing all of those buttons? And then on the other hand, within this paradox, a woman has a choice, and here comes a bit of judgment from the girl boss side of femininity. You choose to be a housewife to like what? Serve your household? That sucks. You could be flying into space and instead you choose vacuuming? How awful. And it's the weird thing. The feminist capitalism. So traditional wives get shamed in exactly that way too. There's a really great movie called Mona Lisa Smile. It is about post-war liberalization of society told through the lens of a woman's education. It is a really great movie, and here comes a spoiler, you guys, for one of the plot lines. So if you haven't seen the movie and you plan to, I would honestly just skip ahead. I'm gonna be adding some timestamps. There was a new art teacher comes to the women's college, and she's a mouthpiece for all of the new ideas. She's not married and does not want to be. She believes girls could do anything. The idea of traditional family repels her. She picks out a hesitant student in her class and convinces her to apply to Harvard, telling her you could do anything. That plotline lands with the student, Joan, choosing traditional marriage over a legal career because it's what she genuinely wants. The teacher, Catherine, is disappointed in her, but later she admits she's wrong and apologizes. Tradwives get criticized the very same reasons they're praised. For being ideal wives and mothers. Or more precisely, not just for that, but because it feels like traditional wives are actively promoting patriarchal standards and pushing pretty important word here, gender awards onto women and men. Roles we have been trying to move away from for years. This kind of representation of femininity isn't really any different from conservatives try to push onto us. It is essentially from a propaganda of traditional values. It is really interesting that the trend towards tradwives exploded exactly at a time when the world is drowning in wars and economic crisis. Men have found a new role model too, Andrew Tate and others like him. That is actually what makes sense. I saw a really interesting post online about how young women and men deal very differently with disappointment in adult life, and why Gen Z men and women can't seem to find a common language. But the important point is where there's pressure, where someone says you should live like me because this is the right way. That's where the issue starts. Esther Williams, remember her from the start of the video? She says the traditional wives never push their lifestyle to anyone. They simply choose it for themselves, exercising women's right to choose her own destiny. Yeah, that's great, but then how do you explain her responses to followers where she does things like this and says, when a woman feels safe, she naturally submits to her husband. It's just an instinct. On her other TikToks with captions like dress like a lady, act like a lady, and you will be treated like one. Or all those TikToks with the vibe of back in the days were better. And the very similar phrase, back then men were men and women were women. In interviews with these women, you often hear things like, they want a tall, masculine man, a man who will provide his future wife. You should avoid certain words to us, not to sound too assertive, etc. Girls, tell me, what do you think about this? What kind of provider do you want? I want to hear you. Tradwife's influencers often claim they're just choosing a traditional lifestyle, not pushing it to anyone. But their content tells a different story. They present a curated, hyper-polished image of motherhood and domestic life. Immaculate homes, flawless makeup, designer clothes, gourmet meals, all while smiling calmly with quiet, well-dressed children on the side here. It looks effortless, but not real. It is production. Behind all the scenes, there are nannies, chefs, cleaners, personal assistants, along with camera crews, managers, and editors. When Nara Smith films a 2-hour cooking video days after giving birth, her children aren't clinging to her. They're with someone else. That is why she has time to do her makeup, set up lighting, and shoot the perfect footage. These women are not just homemakers, they're media brands backed by serious money and labor. This fantasy becomes harmful when regular women, especially new mothers, start comparing themselves to these influencers. Many already feel overwhelmed, which is so relatable, right? You have a whole house to clean and new children to take care of that you probably never took care of before, alone. And this kind of content creates shame and guilt. They wonder why they can just do it all, like influencers seem to. But the truth is, most people don't have $30,000 stove and a team of domestic workers, or millions of brand deals like Nara and Hannah Neilman. Hannah's husband is a billionaire, and Nara earns millions a year from sponsorships and TikTok alone. Their homemaking is a luxury business, not an everyday reality. And what's even more damaging is that this image impacts not just women, but men. Male followers begin to idolize this version of womanhood, commenting things like, why could a modern woman be more like her? Meanwhile, women internalize guilt for not measuring up even when the standards are impossible. The influencer might be selling homemade ketchup, but it's wrapped in multi-million-dollar PR strategy that erases all signs of exhaustion, stress, or imperfection. And let's be clear, these women are not living like the 1950s housewives. They're running a multi-million-dollar businesses while presenting themselves as passive, obedient domestic angels. The irony is sharp. They brand themselves as an anti-feminist, but their success is only possible because the feminist progress, financial independence, online platforms, legal autonomy. So can the Tradwife style be a feminist choice? I mean, not if it is tied to a selling submission, silence, and impossible beauty as moral virtues. A woman choosing to stay home with her family is valid, but turning that into a polished fantasy and marketing into millions as the right way to be a woman is deeply misleading and dangerous. At this core, a Tradwife trend is not about transition, it's about aesthetic. It's not about nurturing love, it's about monetizing an image. And when the image leaves everyday women feeling like they're falling, we need to ask, who really benefits? Because real life is messy, real motherhood is exhausting, real relationships require equality. No influencer's content should make you feel less than enough, especially when their version of simple is backed up with by millions. You're not behind, you are not broken, you're living a real life. And that is more than enough. Alright, you guys, this is all for today. This was a crazy video. I really hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this version? We're gonna start to do some of these. But yeah, make sure that you check out all the links in the description. I do have a beauty channel, so let's meet on there as well. But I do want to hear your thoughts anyways. What do you think about trad lives? What kind of partners do you choose? What do you choose for yourself? I would consider myself to be a little bit more submissive, but there are also limitations. There are also to an extent of what you could do, because I'm a real boss girl. I work really hard. I literally don't have any breaks. I help my husband with the business. I do so much work and I am girl bossing all the way, but there's also submission and respect to my husband. What do you think about that? But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to see you on the next one, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn notifications on. But for now, I will be seeing you on the next one. Bye!